Now, I've tried all week to save you from the dangerous weapon-grade levels of cringe of this following interview, a podcast featuring Meghan Markle, but alas, we must all suffer together. Here is Meghan talking to a woman called Jamie Kern-Lima, who seems to be even more fake and insufferable than the Duchess.
Perhaps you knew.
Oh, I knew, David. I still know today. You have to know your detail. I think with the family, you get that generational hand-on, and
they didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
What?
It was really hard.
Just when we thought the Meghan Markle drama had cooled down, bam, it explodes all over again. This time on one of Britain's most beloved talk shows. Yep, things got spicy on The Graham Norton Show, when none other than the iconic Sir David Attenborough, yes, the soft-spoken nature legend himself, suddenly went off script and fired some serious royal shade Meghan's way. And no, this wasn't part of some scripted gag. It was one of those moments where the room laughs, but then gets quiet. Real quiet.
But you have to be careful what you do, because if you cut it all out, then you're telling an untruth. You're telling fairy stories, and natural history programs are not about fairy stories, they're about the real world.
As Meghan was mentioned in passing, the conversation quickly spiraled into something far deeper and more critical than anyone in the audience expected. Sir David Attenborough, known for his calm nature documentaries and soothing narration, took an uncharacteristically bold turn and questioned Meghan's princess persona, highlighting the odd contrast between her royal claims and her red carpet lifestyle. It all began with Graham Norton making a cheeky jab at Meghan's packing habits. He pointed out that during her recent 5-day trip to Invictus Games, Meghan reportedly brought 8 full bags. Yep, 8 for 5 days. That's more than most people take on a honeymoon. It sparked laughs in the studio, but the tone shifted when Attenborough chimed in and said, if she's truly a princess, why does she travel like a pop star on tour? The room went quiet. It wasn't just shade, it was a spotlight on a deeper issue. Attenborough argued that royalty should stand for service and simplicity, not excess and flash. He noted how Meghan's lavish lifestyle seems completely disconnected from the values she often claims to represent, especially when she talks about helping the less fortunate. As the audience nervously chuckled, Norton tried to lighten the moment with a joke, asking whether she was carrying spare tiaras or an emergency throne in one of those bags. But the damage, or should we say royal reality check, was already done. Social media exploded, the clip went viral, and people online were split between defending Meghan and agreeing with Attenborough's pointed remarks. Some users pointed out how other royals, like Kate Middleton, are often seen traveling light and dressing modestly, making Meghan's high-maintenance style feel even more tone-deaf. And just when Meghan probably hoped the heat would die down, another wave of controversy smacked her reputation like a royal slap. A resurfaced video allegedly showed Meghan twerking in a hospital room while heavily pregnant. Critics were quick to call it inappropriate and desperate for attention, while supporters shrugged it off as a harmless, silly moment. But in the court of public opinion, timing is everything, and this wasn't it. The video, which had originally been a brief moment meant to show her fun and carefree side, instead came across to many as awkward, tasteless, and slightly performative, especially considering how carefully curated her image has been.
When the song come on, let me see you get gone. Baby mama, this your song, been pregnant for way too long. Now tell the DJ turn it off.
If she a baby mama,
go ahead.
She gon' do that baby mama.
Work.
She gon' put it on you. She gon' do that baby mama. Drop
it down, drop it down, down low. Drop it down, drop it down, down low. Drop it down, drop it down, down low.
As if that weren't enough, Meghan appeared on the Aspire with Emma Grede podcast shortly after, which was meant to be an empowering, heartfelt interview quickly turned into yet another public relations misstep. When asked if there's anything she would have done differently in the past, Meghan replied, yes, I would ask people to tell the truth. The answer seemed to be dripping with bitterness and deflection, and royal correspondent Kinsey Schofield didn't hold back. She criticized Meghan's response as a missed opportunity for humility. Wouldn't it have been a gorgeous, humble moment, she said, if Meghan had said absolutely not. I am where I am because of the mistakes I've made. Instead, she blamed everyone else, again. When asked to elaborate on how she feels about people not being truthful, Meghan simply replied, peaks and valleys. That vague answer only fueled more speculation and frustration. Many viewers saw it as yet another example of Meghan dancing around accountability, choosing cryptic responses over clarity. The podcast clip went viral within hours of its release on June 22, 2025, reigniting public debate about her sincerity, her self-image, and whether the public still buys into her misunderstood Duchess narrative.
The very first question, because I think in friendship it's so important, and I think so many people also have this question for you is, Meghan, how are you? And are you okay?
That's so kind. I am. I'm better than okay. How are you?
I know you always make it about me. Today, which by the way, I just have to say, you are the most generous friend. You show up for your friends. Today, I just get to talk about you, which I'm excited about. But how are you doing? There's so much going on.
Good. I'm good. There's, it's a lot of pinch me moments right now. And at the same time, I think because I'm so busy with so many different things, and for each of those projects, as you mentioned, the show or the podcast or the brand, the business, the most important thing that I work on every day, my practice, is trying to really integrate it, to integrate the joy.
This trifecta of troubles, the luggage jokes, the twerking backlash, and the podcast fallout, arrives at a time when Meghan's public support is already slipping. Her Hollywood ventures haven't panned out the way she'd hoped. Her podcast with Spotify ended unceremoniously, and despite trying to reinvent herself in the US, the buzz around her brand is beginning to fizzle. At one point, Meghan Markle was seen as a fresh, modern face in the royal world, a woman breaking boundaries and challenging outdated traditions. But now, she's increasingly perceived as a celebrity clinging to royal relevance while refusing to own up to her own part in the drama. Now, before you start hammering away at your keyboard with strong opinions, let's hit rewind for a second and look how we even got to this chaotic royal mess. Because before the tiaras, titles, and televised interviews, Meghan Markle wasn't the Duchess of anything. She was just a Hollywood actress hustling for roles and trying to build a name for herself. Her big break came through with the hit legal drama series, Suits, where she played Rachel Zane, a savvy paralegal with great style and even better timing. The role gave Meghan a steady fan base and finally helped her break out of the cheesy Hallmark rom-com loop. But she wasn't just playing characters. Meghan was quietly building a brand, long before marrying into royalty. She launched a lifestyle blog, The Tig, where she shared wellness tips, travel stories, recipes, and motivational quotes. Basically, Meghan was giving off major #BossBabe energy before it was trendy. Then came July 2016. Meghan was in London, attending Wimbledon, and staying at the elite Soho House, the kind of members-only spot where celebrities, CEOs, and high-profile agents rub shoulders. At the time, she was reportedly pitching herself to talent agencies in the UK, looking to elevate her career. And as fate, or a little networking would have it, this was also when she met Prince Harry, the red-haired royal heartthrob with a wild past and a gentle soul. Their romance began quietly, but soon erupted into headlines. The secret dates, the subtle matching bracelets on Instagram, the paparazzi whispers. It was the beginning of a media frenzy. And when Meghan landed on the October 2017 Vanity Fair cover with the headline, "Wild About Harry," comparisons to Princess Diana instantly ignited. Her fashion, her presence, her tragic family backstory, people couldn't help but draw parallels. And in a country still deeply attached to Diana's memory, that wasn't always received kindly. At first, it looked like a modern fairy tale, a self-made American woman marrying into British royalty. But as the 2018 wedding approached, red flags started waving. Meghan's $75,000 engagement dress raised eyebrows during a time of economic tension in the UK. And while other royals were praised for re-wearing outfits and staying modest, Meghan's luxury choices stood out like a sore thumb. People started wondering if she was more Hollywood than Windsor. The press, always hungry, soon dove into Meghan's family drama. Her parents' rocky divorce, estranged siblings selling stories, and a father who kept flipping between public apologies and media interviews. None of it painted a picture of unity. In fact, the only family member to attend the royal wedding was her mother, Doria. As tabloids fed off the tension, reports about Meghan clashing with palace staff and even making Kate Middleton cry over flower girl dresses became hot gossip. One odd rumor claimed Meghan demanded scented air fresheners in the centuries-old chapel because it smelled too historic. And things only got messier after the wedding. Behind the palace gates, Harry and Meghan's joint office with William and Kate broke apart, marking a royal split not seen since the days of Charles and Diana. They moved their operation to Buckingham Palace and launched their own Instagram and website. But along with this new independence came whispers of bullying allegations and staff turnover, adding fuel to an already burning fire. By late 2018, Meghan was pregnant, and that came with a new wave of drama. At Princess Eugenie's wedding, Meghan wore a coat that sparked pregnancy rumors, which were confirmed the very next day. Some felt she stole the spotlight. Others raised eyebrows when she was frequently caught rubbing her tiny baby bump during public events. One moment that really struck a nerve was when she was overheard saying she couldn't believe she wasn't getting paid for a royal tour. Something that made many fans go, wait, what? The controversies kept piling up. In Fiji, Meghan abruptly left an event hosted by a women's group she had previously applied to and been rejected from, leaving waiting fans disappointed and confused. Then came the blood diamond scandal. Yes, actual blood diamonds. When Meghan wore earrings gifted by Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who was at the time under fire for allegedly ordering the M of journalist Jamal Khashoggi. She wore them again a few months later, reigniting outrage. And yet, despite the drama, Meghan and Harry pushed forward with their royal duties. Their 2019 trip to South Africa seemed like a fresh start. But that's when the documentary happened. The one where Meghan opened up on camera saying no one in the royal family ever asked if she was okay. It was emotional, yes, but many wondered if it was also part of a larger media strategy. Still, it tugged at heartstrings, and Meghan's not okay moment became iconic. Then came Christmas 2019, and things took a sharp, shocking turn. Harry and Meghan skipped the traditional royal holiday gathering and instead spent time in Canada, where Meghan had lived while filming Suits. Not long after, the couple blindsided the world by posting a bombshell announcement on Instagram. They were stepping back from royal duties. Just like that. No heads up to the Queen, no warning to staff, just a carefully worded post about seeking financial independence and crafting a progressive new role. It was a royal mic drop, and it shook Buckingham Palace to its core. Now fast forward to today, and Meghan's name is once again plastered across headlines, but this time for all the wrong reasons. During a recent appearance on the Aspire with Emma Grede podcast, she was asked what she'd do differently if given the chance. Instead of showing humility, Meghan replied, "Yes, I would ask people to tell the truth." It sounded less reflective and more like a swipe at everyone else. Royal correspondent Kinsey Schofield slammed the answer as bitter, saying Meghan missed a golden opportunity to own her mistakes and say something like, "I'm here today because of the lessons I've learned."
Was the move about getting away from the UK press, because the press is, is everywhere, or was the move because you weren't getting enough support from the firm?
It was both.
Both.
I needed to do this for my family. This is not a surprise to anybody. It's really sad that it's got to this point, but I've got to do something for my own mental health, for my wife's, and for Archie's as well, because I could see where this was headed.
They didn't want him to be a prince or a princess, not knowing what the gender would be, which would be different from protocol, and that he wasn't going to receive security.
What?
It was really hard. Look, I was really ashamed to say it at the time, and ashamed to have to admit it to Harry, especially. Because I know how much loss he's suffered. But I knew that if I didn't say it, that I would do it. And I just didn't want to be alive anymore.
Now let's not pretend this is Meghan's first rodeo when it comes to dodging accountability. She's made it almost an art form. Point the finger, play the victim, and watch the headline spin. One of the most jaw-dropping examples? Her bombshell interview with Oprah Winfrey in March 2021, at a time when Prince Harry's grandfather, Prince Philip, was seriously ill in the hospital. Meghan and Harry chose that moment to sit down with Oprah and pour out their grievances to the world. The optics were already off, but what Meghan said during that interview lit the royal world and public opinion on fire. The first half of the interview was all about Meghan. She painted herself as the royal outsider, bullied, silenced, and trapped in a golden cage. She claimed her children were denied royal titles due to their race. She said the institution took her passport, keys, and even access to mental health support. It was intense, emotional, and for some believable. But as time passed, many of those claims began to unravel one by one. Take the mental health claim. Meghan said she was denied help during her darkest moments, yet Harry and Prince William have both been outspoken advocates for mental health for years, founding major initiatives like Heads Together. Why would that same family ignore her? Then there was the accusation about royal titles. Meghan said her son Archie wasn't given one because of racism. But the truth? Royal protocol states that great-grandchildren of the monarch do not receive prince/princess titles unless the monarch grants them or unless they move up the line in succession. After Queen Elizabeth passed in 2022, Archie and Lilibet were given titles, so the claim simply didn't hold up. Meghan also claimed their Netflix deal was never part of the plan, but surprise, leaked documents and reports showed that Harry and Meghan had been in talks for a streaming deal as early as 2019. That was well before their royal exit. So much for "we just wanted privacy." Many fans who once viewed Meghan as a brave outsider began to feel duped. What they had seen as a candid confession on Oprah now looked like a carefully curated performance, one that pulled at heartstrings while leaving out a lot of inconvenient details. Then came the Netflix docuseries, which was supposed to give viewers an inside look at their love story and struggles. But instead, it exposed contradictions and awkward moments, like Meghan mocking royal traditions with a half-hearted, exaggerated curtsy meant to mimic what she did when meeting the Queen, a move many saw as disrespectful, especially to the late monarch who had once welcomed her into the fold. And if things weren't already falling apart, they took another hit with the bullying allegations. After former palace staffers broke their silence, Buckingham Palace launched an internal investigation. Reports describe Meghan as a dictator in heels, with accusations of yelling at staff, throwing tea, and making harsh demands. The Hollywood Reporter and Vanity Fair, two major outlets that don't throw around claims lightly, confirmed these troubling accounts. High staff turnover followed Harry and Meghan everywhere, and insiders described their work environment as abominable. Meghan's image as a kind and empowering woman was suddenly at odds with reports of behind-the-scenes chaos. Even her much-hyped Spotify podcast, Archetypes, couldn't escape the drama. It dropped with big promises, flashy marketing, and a massive deal. But after just one season, it was canned. Poor ratings, awkward editing, lackluster guest appearances, and a show title that ran into trademark issues. It was a PR disaster. Meghan's team tried to spin it, but the writing was on the wall. Her brand was starting to wobble, and fast. And let's not forget the oddball headlines that kept following her, like the viral video where Meghan was seen twerking in a hospital room while visibly pregnant, a clip that divided the internet. Some laughed, others cringed. But for many, it was just one more example of Meghan chasing attention in ways that felt off-brand for someone who says she wants a quiet, dignified life. Now, there hasn't been one single explosive moment that caused Meghan's downfall. It's been more like a slow leak, a series of missteps, contradictions, and overly polished narratives that just didn't add up. Her newer projects, meant to show her creative vision, often come off as shallow, recycled Pinterest ideas dressed up with royal polish. The Love Meghan persona she presents feels more like a character than a real person, one that's growing harder to believe. And for those who think this is just media bullying, it's important to compare Catherine, the Princess of Wales, also married into the royal family as an outsider. She came from a middle-class background, had no acting experience, and didn't arrive with a built-in fan base. She faced years of intense media scrutiny too. But instead of launching attacks or interviews blaming everyone around her, Catherine kept her head down, stayed consistent, and built respect slowly. She showed grace under pressure, and over time, that authenticity paid off. Today, she's widely viewed as a future queen the public can trust. And this is where David Attenborough roasts Meghan Markle. It was meant to be a light segment on The Graham Norton Show, but things took an unexpected serious turn when Sir David Attenborough, one of Britain's most respected voices, shared a rare and direct critique about Meghan Markle, and not just about her travel habits. While the audience was initially laughing at jokes about Meghan's extravagant packing during her short trip to the Invictus Games, Attenborough's expression shifted, and what followed left the room in stunned silence. Without raising his voice or naming her directly at first, Sir David said, "We live in an age where people speak of privacy, yet constantly invite the world into their lives. Influence must be earned, not declared. It was clear to who he was referring to. The reference was unmistakable to viewers familiar with Meghan Markle's recent pattern of behavior, calling for privacy and space from media intrusion, while simultaneously producing Netflix documentaries, launching personal podcasts, and appearing on major international platforms with curated narratives about her life. The contradiction has long puzzled the public. How can one demand distance from the spotlight while continuing to walk straight into it with carefully scripted productions? Later in the conversation, Attenborough made his meaning more direct. He recalled a royal-backed environmental summit where public figures, experts, and community leaders had gathered to quietly strategize on actionable solutions. Meghan had been invited to support the initiative. According to those present, rather than blending in or listening to the cause at hand, she reportedly arrived with a personal photographer and asked for time to deliver a statement unrelated to the summit's agenda. What made Attenborough's words sting more than any headline was their quiet honesty. He wasn't trying to destroy Meghan's reputation. Instead, he was highlighting what many have felt but have been afraid to say, that Meghan's actions often seem to contradict her message. She has consistently voiced her desire to live a private, peaceful life. Yet her every step, whether it's a high-profile interview, a fashion-forward public appearance, or a new media deal, seems meticulously crafted for attention. The deeper implication is this: you cannot redefine royal values to suit your image. The royal family, for all its flaws, has long stood for discretion, duty, and selfless service, by constantly seeking publicity under the guise of privacy. Meghan risks undermining the very causes she claims to support. As the segment aired, the internet lit up with reactions. Many praised Attenborough for his courage to speak the truth without aggression. Others pointed out that this may mark a turning point, that respected figures within British society are finally beginning to voice the disconnect between Meghan's narrative and her behavior. Now, I want to hear your thoughts. Do you think Sir David Attenborough was intentionally roasting Meghan Markle, or do you believe his words were simply taken out of context? Was it a fair criticism about the contradictions in her public image, or just another case of the media twisting things and turning calm observations into controversy? So drop your thoughts in the comments below. And while you're there, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and explore our other content. We've got more deep dives, royal revelations, and eye-opening stories coming your way. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.